So Phil, here when we're chatting about muscle mass, we say to people, from your mid-30s onwards, you're beginning to lose it. Talk to me, A, is that true? And B, the science behind that.
Yeah, we've known for a long time, and you're absolutely true. The Wealth Organization published a very little nice diagram which showed that your peak muscle mass probably occurs somewhere in the region of about 30, 35 years of age at maturity. And like all things, if you have a higher level of muscle mass at that peak, then of course you can offset any declines that occur with aging. With aging, the muscle mass probably declines somewhere between 1 or even 2% per annum from the age of about 30, 35. And not many people realize that. And the reason why they don't realize that, of course, is that the rate of decline is not matched by the change in body mass. Your body weight tends to increase over those ages. So clearly, if you do the math, at the age of 70, you've probably lost about 40% of your muscle mass, but your body mass has actually increased. And that substitution between muscle mass and fat mass, again, contributes to these factors of metabolic aging.
And when we're losing muscle mass, so we're at a higher risk of falls, trips, and hazards. That's one of the big, I suppose, areas that have been promoted over the course of the last couple of years. That, if you're weaker, more likely you're going to fall faster, trips, hazards, falls, breaks, fractures. And staying strong is one of the easiest ways to help avoid that.
Absolutely. I mean, you have all functions of daily activity, the activities of daily living require locomotion. So whether you're doing the housework, whether you're lifting your grandchildren, whether you're putting a 10-kilo bag in the locker, in the overhead locker on an aeroplane, all those require physical activity. And it's a perception of that decline which is lacking, because it doesn't actually happen in one block. It happens very, very gradually indeed. And the main thing we now know, of course, is that that rate of decline is what we want to influence from a very early age, not at the time when you get to 70 and you actually realize now that you're a little bit more frail and you may be stumbling a bit. So you want to get in early on that. And you can do that, modify that by lifestyle activities. The two principal lifestyle activities is your diet, including the protein intake and how that's taken. And then secondly, exercise or physical activity. And the two are interactive. The sum of the two parts, is much, much less than the whole. In other words, you can actually influence one and get a greater effect on the other. That's great.
And I suppose for people listening to this, at any age, if you start improving your protein intake through your diet, doing more weight-bearing exercise, you can change your muscle mass, whether you are ideally in your 30s when you're doing it, or if it's your 40s when you do it, or if it's your 70s when you do it. No matter when you do it, it will improve.
Yeah, you can intervene at any time, and obviously the earlier the better. Because again, if you look at that slope of the line of decline, then you want to try and modify that so it's not as steep. And you don't reach, we call it a critical threshold or a disability threshold, whereby you no longer can perform the sort of activities that you used to do when you were younger.
And from a dietary perspective, protein is the main nutrient people need to get in to help increase their muscle mass, isn't it?
Yeah, you have to consider your total muscle mass, which is about 60% of your total body mass. So it's quite a large organ, isn't it, if you think about it? You have to think of that. I always put the analogy to a reservoir. If you look at the reservoir, you've got an inflow into the reservoir and an outflow from the reservoir. So although the reservoir looks actually the same volume, it's actually influenced by those two features. So in muscle, it's exactly the same. You're constantly breaking down the outflow and you're constantly building up the inflow. The problem is, of course, that your rate at which you're building up is influenced by diet and physical activity. So clearly, if your outflow is keeping constant, but your inflow is starting to reduce, then of course you start to lose the total volume. The other thing to note about that, and it's the same with tissue repair from damage, etc., that the process of replacing the proteins in skeletal muscle occurs at about 1.1 to 3% per day. And of course, what that means is that reservoir of water, although it may look the same volume, is a totally different composition of water. Same as your muscle. Your muscle has regenerated through this breakdown and resynthesis over about a 30-day period. And a great colleague of mine from Maastricht always says, look at your arm. We said, in 30 days, that's a totally different arm. Do you understand? So the two processes, if you influence those, can make that arm, muscle in that arm decrease or maintain the same, or with the right stimulus, increase. That's what the dietary and exercise regimes do for you.
And of course, we see that for people who are having surgery on maybe one leg and they can't move for a period of time, or one leg's in a cast. The muscle wastage within that leg that has been operated on is dramatic.
Yeah, I mean that's a terrific example to promote. Yes, I mean if you put your arm in a cast, then clearly compared to the other arm, it reduces when you take the cast off after 30 days, 6 weeks, or whatever that happens to be. The innovations to that, of course, is that we now stimulate muscle inside the cast. We put little electrodes in which activate the muscle, so we get that activity-related stimulus to the protein synthesis, and then with your proper dietary control, you can actually reduce that loss. That's done a hell of a lot in athletes because, of course, we want them to recover very, very quickly.